Oh, okay.
Okay, you can start.
Welcome back to the Uncensored. Today we're talking about the security forces in Kenya, and we are joined by a security expert from France. His name is Weldon. Weldon, welcome. And
Thank you
then
very
we
much.
have our co-host Francisco Bugwa. Welcome.
Asante Bwana Msao. Thank you very much.
We also joined by Nelson Amanya, one of the agency's patriots for this channel, who is also going to take a part in this discussion. Now, without further ado, we'd like to hear something about Weldon, a brief about who he is, and then we start talking about the security forces in Kenya. Can say as much as you want or as little as you wish, and then from there we take it from there, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for having me here today. My name is Weldon Korir. I'm based in France, Paris. I've been here for over a decade now. I served in the French military for almost 10 years, and currently I'm working as a international security and defense consultant with different companies, countries, and organizations.
Excellent. That means you're an expert and you consult on matters of security. You are the right guy to be here. Reason why this topic was brought about was because we all know about Kenyan security forces, right from police forces. I don't know much about armed forces. I haven't heard a lot of stories, but probably you'll tell us more about it because I think they tend to be quite hidden from the public life. But one of the big things we have in Kenya at the moment, because we talk about Kenya most of the time, is having the police not as fully independent as it should be. Is this a case for concern for you as as a consultant? Do you think our security, the police force in Kenya, are as independent as they should be, or do you think they are part and parcel of the state? And to what extent should they be independent? If you can give us an overview about that.
I think when it comes to the Kenyan National Police Service, because now we don't have the police force, we have the police service. That means they have to serve the people. The first thing that the president, according to my understanding, when he came into office, he made the National Police Service. He made the National Police Service independent. So I that's how it's supposed to be, and I think that's how it is now in paper. Yeah, but I think they still have a long way to go as a country to make it really, really independent without doing the government duties or without being given instructions by the executive. So according to my understanding now in the National Police Service, they are independent. They are operating independently. They have their own budget. They have their own rules and regulations. They have their own orders that comes from the head of inspector of police. Yeah, the inspector general, the inspector general of police, and that's how it is as it is at the moment in Kenya.
Now, you've said that the police force has now changed to police service since the new administration came into power under President Ruto. Can you explain to us the difference between the former and the current police service? What is the main difference, and why do you think there was that change? Then, so that we can now understand why we see what we see, and maybe dissect on some of the issues the public have raised. Wilden, are you still with us?
Yes, sorry, I have a problem with my lighting and the camera.
Yeah.
But yes, as I said, according to the president and this government, the National Police Service is independent. They signed it on the first day. They gave them the powers to act independently. That means whatever the police did, for example, in two or 3 days ago, the president will say, I gave you the powers. This is all on you. So everything that happens within the National Police Service, it's through the command ranks of the police service. It has nothing to do with the president.
Is it
Yeah.
a good thing or a bad thing, according to you? And
It
why
is
is
a
it,
very
if it's good, why is it good? And which system are we trying to copy?
it is very good because it gives the power the police to act independently without being taking sides, especially the political sides. We have this is very common in different countries, including the France, where I am, and other countries like the US. We have experienced this kind of things before. We saw what happened when Trump lost in Capitol, which is almost similar to Parliament, occupying Parliament in Kenya. And there were a lot of demonstrators who went inside, and they destroyed most of the building and some of the things inside the Capitol, which is equivalent to the Parliament in Kenya. But there was zero loss of lives, So it shows you there's a difference. There were so many people who went inside actually, and they were more violent and more organized, and they were not young people. So it shows you the difference between the National Police Service in terms of responding, and also in terms of how to respond to in different locations, and how they actually consider lives when it comes to this kind of situations. So these are some of the things that I think the National Police Service are still having a problem with at the moment.
So you say this, whatever is happening, is because we used to have a different kind of a police service to what we have now. So these are like hangovers of the previous system.
Yes. We're having we have
Hangovers.
yes. I wouldn't say hangovers as such, but to be honest with you, last time when I was in Kenya in 2007, I experienced, I witnessed the same thing what happened a few days ago. I remember when I was in Kericho in 2007, so many young people were shot, and actually the brains were out in the streets, just because they entered into a supermarket and they were running away with milk and bread. I mean, and I was expecting maybe there's a little bit different approach, not to use such kind of force at the moment. I understand Parliament, according to the president today. When I listen to the president, some of the people were actually targeting the armory, so they were actually going to where they have the arms, So it's a very secure place, and like if you have these people actually breaking into the armory, then it will bring danger to the people themselves, and to the protesters themselves, and maybe the members of parliament who were there, and the public safety at large. So I don't know. This is according to the president. When he was speaking today, he mentioned about the armory. Now, when people are trying to break into the armory, that's something else. According to my own understanding in the force, that is the critical infrastructure actually you protect. If people get to break into the armory, that's it's like you are declaring a war. So I'm not, yeah. So I'm only assessing based on the information that it's in the
That is
public.
out there in the public. Now,
Yes.
Before now, I open to questions to the rest of the panel. You said this force, police service at the moment, is supposed to be different from the old um, structure or service that we used to have. Can you tell us the main what would be expected of the older one? Like what were the shortcomings of the previous setup? Maybe so that we know where we are at the moment. What would you call the difference between the two? The previous and the current one? What is the main, apart from just use of force, but was were they actually allowed to use force in the previous arrangement, or what are you trying to say? The president was trying to change, if you know what I mean.
Yes, yes. I think. Excuse me, because my camera is having some problems. I think first we have to go back to the new constitution. The new constitution actually intend it has had the intention to make sure that this is a national. It's a police that serves the people. It's not a police that a police force. There's a difference between a police force
Yeah,
and police
yeah,
service. So with that alone, the intention was to make sure that they changed. They moved from the experiences we have had from the beginning, even as I mentioned about 2007. It informed all these people who made this constitution that we want these people to serve the communities, not to use excessive force. So, but it's been progressively advancing and getting better. I hope, and one of the things that the president did, as I said, was to make it more independent, to separate it from the executive. As the president and when they were in, as the president had mentioned before, there were a lot of extrajudicial killings, some special units that were formed to actually have extrajudicial killings. Yeah, and the police service then, the police force then were under the CS of Interior. So the command it was coming directly from the CS all the way to the police inspector general. So nowadays, as it's supposed to be, and the way the president signed it, it's supposed to be
right.
very independent. Yeah. So I think still when it's independent, they also report to the president. They are part of the.
Directly,
Yes, they are part.
directly.
Yes, yes.
So we would say he wanted total control of the police without going through any intermediary like the PS. Would you say that?
Well, that's how it's
Or is
supposed to
a
be.
or is a contentious issue?
Yes, for me, where I sit at the moment, Kenya, we are not there yet. We are not there yet,
Right.
to be honest.
Let's
Without
hear
looking,
from Francisco. Francisco, what is your biggest beef with the current police service, as Mr. Weldon is saying? What things have you seen that you think needs addressing once and for all? And then we go to Nelson and I see where have we failed? Because I'm sure there are some African countries and other countries where police have got respect for human life. This is not something that we see in Kenya. And the members of the public who actually asked us to engage in this talk were asking, is it actually legal to have police who are feared, who are lewd, who people, when they see them, they feel like running away? And it's like they are our enemies. We thought they should be protecting people, but some people say here, even they fear police here because they have phobia from back home. Instead of going to the police here, they fear because they are used to seeing police being very lethal to them. So Let's hear from experiences of people on the panel. Francisco, what do you think of the Kenyan police from where you sit?
Well, thank you very much, Thomas. Thank you. Well done for your participation, for your good insights on this, and Nelson as well. I think it will be fair to say that there's one key fundamental principle that we always and we have always to think about whenever it comes to these kind of things. When we have peaceful demonstration, there's always a principle of justice, and so. Well, from where I'm standing tonight, and in comparison to what Weldon has said versus what we had before, to me, um, I think in as much as you would want to prove or claim that there's a change in the police service, I think we are having the same issue. It's like wearing recycling of a shirt, So let me put it this way. Many years back when I was in Kenya, some years back in the Moi era, when we didn't have jobs and all this, we used to have one shirt, for example. You would wear the shirt the whole day and then go wash it at night and then wear it tomorrow morning, and everybody thinks, you know what, this is the same white shirt. I think this guy has more than 30 shirts that he changes every day. And this is what is happening. It is the same people, the same everything. All that has changed. It's nothing, it's just the name. And the reason I'm saying this is because for even a president, a couple of days ago, to open his mouth on a public national television and said that the most incompetent IG of police is his IG of police, the one he fired just a couple of days ago. If you are saying that they brought this police service for a change, and the president himself doesn't have trust in his own governance and his own police, what are we trying to say here?
It's a failure.
101%.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. So it's a failure on the side of the appointing officer. So you should not blame anyone because it's recruitment. I don't know about recruitment. I think they are recruited into the position through from the houses of parliament. I think they have to be approved, like any senior officer.
And Bonner Thomas, and well done as you are there, and Nelson as you're still there. It is the same. It is the same thing that goes out to the army themselves. President Ruto said about how incompetent the IG is. The same day, a couple of hours after, his deputy faults the boss of.
No, you are muted. You are muted. Stop. You are muted. Francisco, muted. Can you repeat yourself? We didn't hear what you were saying. You were muted. You muted again.
Unmute. Sorry. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I am sorry. Somebody's trying to call me. I'm on the phone. I'm not on the laptop. Like I said, earlier, I'm sorry. What I'm trying to say, if we have two bosses running the country, we have the president who is not sure, he's frustrated. He says that the police have failed and have failed the country at large. And then we have his deputy coming up on the same day, standing right upright in the national TV and criticizing the boss of the army, of NIS, and saying that he's failed. The moment he took power, he messed the whole thing about the NIS. I sat there watching them and listening to them, and I sat the whole night thinking to myself, hang on a minute, we have a president and his deputy that don't even have trust in their own government. So let me ask you, is it a good thing to go private, or is it a good thing to have police under the check of, not being privatized or not being a service? So well
Well,
done. I think you
well,
may have to
well,
reconsider your answers for the
well,
same and
Walden
yeah.
will answer that. But one thing I also wanted to
I,
ask
can I
before he
jump in
comes.
before Weldon comes? Can I jump in?
Okay, go on, Elsa.
So I have a comment. So we have seen many African nations and many protests in Africa, and most of them end up exactly like what we see in Kenya. We have seen protests in different parts of different countries in Africa that have ended up, with dead protesters being shot or being abducted, being arrested. I just want to draw a contrast with other countries that have seen such protests, like Sri Lanka, that overthrew their president and their president had to resign. They went up to State House. But guess what? Not even a single bullet was fired at the protesters. We recently saw an attempted coup in Bolivia by the army. Not a single shot was fired. And the protesters actually went to reclaim back the president's position because it had been taken by the army. And they went to say to the army that they do not want their rule, they want their president back. And the army did not fire a single shot when the protesters came. We have seen many instances in Capitol Hill in the US when Trump was orchestrating protests at Capitol Hill. They went into Capitol Hill and no single shot was fired by the police. They went inside, they did all what they did, vandalism, they broke stuff inside Capitol Hill, and they left. Some of them were arrested, of course, but nobody died. Come back to Kenya and just see how the protests in Kenya are so violent. Leave alone Nairobi. We saw Isiolo, some people were shot in Isiolo. Some people were shot in Nakuru. Some people were shot in different parts of the country. Protests that were so peaceful and that I believe police would have been in a position to control the crowds. Their first number one instinct is to attack. Number one instinct is, first of all, to throw tear gas. It's like a game. It's like something that they're used to. They're not used to law and order. They're used to disrupting law and order. They want to fire tear gas. They want to disperse the protests. The aim of the police is not to disperse the protests. The aim of the police in the protests is to protect them from vandalism, from destroying property of people. But when they come with the mindset of, we shoot a few people and disperse the crowd by tear gas, and this is the wrong mindset. This is what we are trying to tell the government and to tell the president, who is not listening to us, that yes, we can have protests. Actually, people can go and enter parliament. It's not a problem because it's our taxes that are going to pay for the repairs. It's not his money. He said in the interview that the government is going to use 2.5 billion. Or this is the property that was lost. Is he going to get that money from his pocket? No. It's coming from the taxpayer, the same people protesting. So why is he killing them? He should let them enter parliament. The same way they entered Capitol Hill and nothing happened, If they entered parliament, so what? And destroyed everything. We just rebuild. You cannot equate this with killing 24 people and shooting them in the head with a sniper. This is absolutely no comparison. So yeah, the police have to change.
No.
And Nelson, when I was on that same topic, Nelson, let
Mm.
me ask Bwana Weldon, what significance has it got? You said in 2007 there were brains, and you used this very word, brains on the street. Meaning that people were shot intentionally on their brains so that the brain spill on the street. And they did the same thing. They sent snipers the other day who shot our youngsters on their brains, and we saw brains on the street.
The street.
Is there something that it goes on in the police forces that sends a message, or what is this? Is it coded message? What is it?
Well done.
Yes. Maybe first, before I answer this question, I want to go back to the some of the comments you made about the president mentioning about the IG as the worst actually in the world to be the commander of police. I think the what you saw was that was the old the previous IG Inspector of General of Police Mutiambe. Was it Hilary Mutiambe? So definitely when he came to power, he fired him. So is the video that was circulating online was actually captured even by different people internationally, and it was actually from Hilary Mutiambe, the one who left. So he was not talking about the current one. I'm sure definitely is going to do something about it, because to show that it's, as a president, he has to act, on it. Otherwise, he will be responsible because he's the head of government. So one thing I want to mention also is the police. The Kenyan police, as I mentioned, from 2007, to answer your question now, it showed me that they actually haven't changed. Time has changed, but I was so surprised because they haven't changed. It has to do with training. It has to do with equipment. There is something that people don't see. What I see about the police is they are also protesting. They are protesting. These guys are fatigued. They have stress. They're underpaid. They have very bad housing. So if they have all this fatigue and stress, they have been running up and down with these guys, and they are under like the numbers. They don't have the numbers actually to face the numbers they were having with the protesters. So they most of them will use this advantage, and they will put their. You actually, I saw someone actually shooting directly to a journalist.
Exactly.
Even if it was it wasn't it was actually tear gas, but it doesn't matter. The rule there are rules in the way you handle your firearms. Safety. Never point your cannon to anything or anyone you're not planning to destroy. That is the first rule. That is a rule globally. So it shows you that they need more training. These guys are fatigued. They have stress. So when I look on their side, I see guys who need serious training, continuous training. They don't have equipment. So that's why, like, those guys were young. You cannot compare with those who actually went into Capitol Hill in the US. Those were like, some of them were ex-military, or those were really organized people. Imagine what kind of those people would do to the Kenyan police. So I know this thing. For me, I think there is no message they are passing. Actually, the message they are passing is they are also protesting. They are also protesting, and that's the only way they know how to protest. Yeah.
From where I sit, the police force in Kenya, the police service is where I am sitting from, and I beg to be corrected if I'm wrong. Those people there, even if they have been trained, they are just used as tools by the politicians or by the executive. I'll tell you why. How on earth would an independent police service be infiltrated by goons? How on earth would the people on the streets of Eldoret or another part of the city, calling themselves organized gangs, walk on the streets, and then there is no police officer who is going to stop them, and they are independent, and there is somebody who is supposed to be acting as a police inspector, chief, what's the current title now? So if these people are independent, why would they not deal with such people? If they were not independent, I would say, oh, they are told, please, we are sending you people to come and work with you. But these are people who are independent. And then number two, the kind of things they do, even the police officers themselves, you wonder whether they have even ever gone for training. I'm sure they go for training. I'm sure they know what they are doing. But I think they are taught, you do as we tell you, not as you are taught. Can you explain scenario where police work alongside other people who are supposed to be civilians and they are part and parcel of the police? Or would you say you are not aware of such instances, Mr. Warden?
Sorry, can you repeat your question again?
Would you say that the police, it's what's happening with the Kenyan police today
Yes.
is acceptable? Having people from outside who have infiltrated the police service, and we can see them, people we know they are not police officers, they go and they work alongside the police officers in trying to, in quotes, restore order on the streets. And some of them are armed. I saw one guy shooting, and there was positive identification of that person, that where he used to work, when he retired, what he's currently doing, but he was seen working alongside the police. Is it acceptable? Or would you say it's fake news? Because this was beyond fake news. Because person who wrote that even wrote where he worked, what rank he was, where he's currently working, and when he was seen with the AK-47, the person said, "This is so and so, and this is where he lives, and this is it." It was everything is clear. This is that person. I'm asking.
Yeah, I saw.
Are they
Yes.
independent or they are being sucked up into the executive?
Now, now I understand where people need also to understand from our side in the service, there are different kind of police force, or I would say national police service in this kind. So there are those ones who are meant to control the crowd. Yeah. So those ones come with the uniform and all the equipments that are meant to control the crowd. So these ones, you will find them having a tear gas and all these things. So but also you have to understand, first you have to understand the primary role of the police is to protect the protesters, as Nelson mentioned. Their job is supposed to protect those who are protesting, actually. That's their job. But also to protect the public safety. So that means in Kenya, for example, you have external attacks. Some would use the opportunity like Al-Shabaab. So we have maybe people from National Intelligence Service who are in civilian with the protesters to make sure that Gen Z they are safe, or someone is not walking in with. Can you imagine if they broke into the national? For me, when I was watching these guys breaking into the parliament, I was actually watching someone from maybe Al-Shabaab going with bombs and planting it in the parliament. I see what I see the risks that could come with it. I see different people running with them inside and using the opportunity to plant something inside, or plant something that is able to collect, data from the parliament, or collect sensitive information from different places. There are so many people that have different missions. So when you have police, there are the police that protects the protesters, but then we have those who have in plain clothes. Their mission is basically to watch maybe the terrorists. But for this case, this happens even in France. Even us in the military here in France, when we are, by the way, the military here in France, we are always deployed to support the police. So one of the jobs that we normally do is we listen to, for example, we monitor all the police radios, and we identify those cases that are military, that are meant for intervention by military, because we have witnessed so many cases where they have strong firepower that is military grade that the police cannot handle. So you also have the same cases in different countries. They replicate the same. You can have also military intelligence in the team, look, they are looking after their own. They are not after protesters. They don't care if the protesters are going to parliament or what, but they are on a different mission. So you have a lot of different agencies coming in there because they are everyone, kila mtu amepewa sekta yake. So when I give you an example of us in France, for example, you will also have the military guys in plain clothes, even in stadiums. Their job is not the same job to arrest for the police. Even if people are fighting each other, they don't care about that. They have a specific targets. They are looking in a different picture because they are trained. You saw the military, Kenya Defense Forces coming into the streets. Yeah, they don't care. Like they have a different way of approach with the National Police Service. You saw them actually going to escorting the protesters all the way home, because for them, their mode of engagement is different from the National Police Service. They cannot, they are different. So you will find some people. I saw some people, especially from the LSK, want to give conditions of we need all these police in plain clothes to be everyone to have uniform. Now there's a for me, according to me, the mistake those plain clothes police did, if they really meant good, was like they were not supposed to intervene with protesters. They're supposed to do their job that is assigned to them, to protect them. And then now you have the crowd control with uniform. They can be easily identified by the crowd. Those are the crowd control guys. But this civilian police, they can identify criminals in the group, like some who are snatching phones or doing something, if they are coming from the police, and then they're able to arrest them. So I just want to inform the listeners about the differences that are there. So most of the time, like for example, in Olympics now, they are planning. The military also are planning to support the police. It's not their job to control crowd and stuff, but they also have their own mission. It's the same. So even KDF, when they were deployed, they were not deployed. They were not being deployed to come and. It wasn't a state of emergency that they are coming to take over from the police, because the moment they take over from the police, and then it will change everything. But I think their main mandate was just to come and patrol and assist. Yeah, and you could see what they were doing. They started from Nairobi, the Nyayo Stadium. They had Nyayo Stadium given orders, and they were going from one critical infrastructure to the other to make sure that they are safe from attacks. This could be external attacks.
Was that legal? Was it something that was whether it's within our constitution for armed forces to join in such an activity? That's a question number one. And the other question that you did not answer is the police service allowed to have people who are not police officers working along them? And if not, who authorized that, or who authorizes that? Those two questions, sir.
Yeah, I don't know, unless you tell me an example of the those who are working with the police who are not police officers. And then
there is one picture that was doing rounds on social media with one guy in a suit and holding an AK-47. That guy is a retired military officer.
Okay.
Oh,
Now,
and then Bonawelon, as you think about that, let me add on that. There was the other guy that got beaten up, who was a sniper. With the civilian uniform, he got really beaten up. He was Salimiwad, as you would say. So, yeah, combine the two and tell us about
that. First of all, the snipers. It's impossible for the civilians to actually identify and beat the sniper. The snipers would have in this occasion. The snipers maybe were on top of KICC, for example. Yeah, on top of these kind of buildings. So I think those are misinformation. The snipers would be carrying the kind of weapons that are long range. Yeah, if they were there, not AK-47. You cannot use the AK-47 you saw with the same person as a sniper. That's not the sniper weapon. So if you had a sniper, if they had snipers on top of the buildings, those are the buildings that the protesters didn't even access. Yeah, that's one thing I want to even if just assuming, I know, Kenya is also, they have the same training, like the snipers have the same training, like even here, they are very good, the National Police Service. And if you I assume if you had snipers, they are definitely coming from the paramilitary, the GSU, which are very good, from the special units like Reke Squad, like RDU, that's Rapid Response Unit.
Response unit,
And
yeah.
yes, so those are like very, very, these are the same groups that were sent to Haiti. So those are like serious guys that if you put on the streets, really, that's, you are actually saying you want to kill your people, you know. So I don't think the government will be using that specific kind of people on the streets on such
So
moments.
who was these
But
people? Who were these people who were sniping people?
yeah, I cannot really, I cannot really, I don't, I'm not in a position really to say, because this is something that is going around. But I think those people were shot. They were shot
Right.
at close range, like in the by with AK-47, not sniping. You know.
So clearly that these are police officers or goons who have infiltrated our police service. And if
And
the second, and that this takes you to the next question is this something that is allowed lawfully to have people like those?
um, of course, it's allowed. It's allowed. It depends on their plan, and mostly, if they're allowed, a sniper could be actually up there to monitor, to use their own monitoring systems, because they have, a sniper has uh, what word would I use? A sniper
Equipment.
would use, yeah.
They have sophisticated equipment to identify or
Yes, observe
to
at a
mm,
distance and
okay.
inform the team on the
Mm,
ground. They could be used specifically to go up, maybe KICC on top of the buildings. Like for me, if I was part of the protesters, the first place I would identify if I am safe is to look at those. Uh, but a government like ours, they would only put people there to observe, and actually not with the intention of shooting their own people, but to communicate to the team on the ground of the masses coming from different places, the protesters coming from different places. They could be informed there. Nowadays, actually, they use drones. You know that they had drones actually, so they
mm.
they use drones to
To
monitor instead of,
identify.
yes,
Mhm.
to identify. So there's more sophistication now in the force. So actually they are deployed the drone to monitor and to identify different kind of protesters. So they have the equipment. And to answer you on these guys, they were going around on social media as former military and all this. What I know is that most likely these people, they were uh, either they were a part of national police, uh, uh, bodyguards, on VIP protection, or actually they were deployed. They were put there to protect the parliament. I know. I have friends who work there, and normally they are in plain clothes. They don't have a uniform. So those are when you hear like the president mentioning about armory, it means you have a unit in parliament that are meant to protect parliament. So these guys are normally in plain clothes. Even the bodyguards for members of parliament, who are also members of national police service, they are always in plain clothes. So if for instance the guy who was mentioned as a former retired major
Military.
in the army,
Mhm.
yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
go
know if
on.
this, yeah, I don't know if this is true, but if it is, maybe he was there on as a VIP protection, you know. So we could have been given a job somehow as a contractor, as a to protect some specific facilities. We get this kind of jobs. There are so many guys also from here who have gone back home and have been hired back to do different private security jobs. So there's so many misinformed communication in social media. This is meant to misinform the public and to for a specific purpose, you know.
Well,
But
well, even we have the same on the government side where they say things that are not true. So even if there are people out there, I would say probably they are trying to exchange lies to each other to like in the times of politics where somebody
Oh,
creates a fake story to go against the other. Yes, and Nelson.
um, there is a few comments that we are receiving on YouTube from people that are
Okay.
yeah, some are saying that they're asking why on earth should the police be so brutal? Can they be at least fair, you know? Others are saying they're using too much force. The system in Kenya is rogue from the very top. I think we really need police reforms in this country. Is it time to make new reforms than the ones that were already made that Weldon spoke about? Uh, do they really need to control the crowd using tear gas? Do they? I saw cops throwing tear gas inside a bus. I saw that too as well. And you know, old mothers were trying to escape. It was such a horrible scene. Kenya needs reform in the police department. During peaceful demonstrations, we don't expect death. Yeah, we don't expect people to die, but unfortunately, so many people have died in Kenya, and others, hundreds, are still in hospital trying to nurse their wounds. Kenyans need justice on the massacre that happened in Githurai.
Is
should I,
the right thing actually true? Because there was a BBC documentary that said that did not happen. Is that true? It happens. Well done. Maybe you could tell us and also respond to what Nelson has just read.
actually, it didn't. It didn't. But there was, of course, police brutality in the area. The way I understood, because when I heard about it, I also made some phone calls to my friends in the Kahawa barracks, because according to some information, they said it was the military. So, and then I have some people in Kithurai. They were like, "What's going on? You guys are waking us up." You know, there's nothing. I watched a documentary, Uncensored, almost the same Uncensored like yours, but is it Uncensored Africa? But this one is yeah. It's called Uncensored Africa. It's one of the most reliable, I would say, source. Uh, so I watched. They went to community social justice in Kithurai, and they asked them about the massacre. They responded as they received a lot of phone calls from morning to for a long time, people asking what's going on, and they went around having meetings and looking for families or what happened. They didn't find any. They reported some cases of people who had been taken to different hospitals. They mentioned specifically the number of people, and I think there was one person who died from the place. So according to them, the protesters, actually the police stopped some of them from going to town. Yeah. And in the evening, when they came back, those who came back from town, they put a roadblock. Yeah. Young people put a roadblock. So according to them, they mentioned the military actually were trying to access, but I don't think it's military. But they said military. They were trying to access to cross to go to the barracks, and they had problems with the youth. So the youth also had burnt one police vehicle in the day. So that's why the police had to go back, and there was a lot of police brutality in the place. So I can say, according to me, because we haven't seen bodies like other places from Kithurai. So it's according also to British Broadcasting Corporation. They went there as well, and they reported actually there were no massacre. So I can using those kind of reliable sources, I can confirm that
there was.
Yeah, there wasn't.
Is it okay? Where you work at the moment, let's forget about Kenya, because Kenya, we know what the situation is. Is it okay for a police officer or even a military person like yourself shoot a civilian who is unarmed? Does it ever happen? Has it happened elsewhere apart from a system which is going down to the dogs? Is it, if you understand where I'm coming from, is it
Yes,
lawful to use live bullets on somebody like that? Or even, yes, go on.
there are rules of engagement, of course. Even for the military people like us, when we go to operations in different countries, even someone who is armed, as long as is not pointing the gun at you, or maybe is running away from you,
Yeah,
you have no right to shoot someone from behind, right?
exactly.
Well, if someone has a gun, yeah, not pointing at you, you cannot shoot that person. So there are a lot
So
of
clearly,
yes.
these are issues of international concern, because this is what is happening. Even if you have been, your way has been blocked, you have no right to kill the person blocking. You can use other means, don't you
So
think?
so so
What
yes.
I'm so and well done
Mm.
on that topic. Let me just quickly, and I'm so sorry to cut you well done. I know you have a lot to say because obviously you're experiencing this. But let me ask you, to me, it doesn't make any sense, because we had the KDF deployed into the streets, but instead of them shooting people were literally, they were protecting the civilians. So are we saying that these police, or whatever we call them, service or police force or whatever they are, because it's the same thing, are they like the first, what is the nature of our police service? Are they there as the first tool that the government needs to use whenever there's a little threat and they have to go there? Is it a mandate on them that whenever there's something like demonstration, they have to do something to please somebody? Or what is it? Because it doesn't make any sense. To me, it doesn't make any sense. There is no way, like you said, you can just take a gun and shoot somebody without an unarmed civilian who's demonstrating. These guys were so peaceful, and you start shooting them. What is happening, and why? Why is it that police feel that, the moment there's some kind of things, they have the power to shoot?
And maybe put it in another way, what Francisco is asking is, well done today, you were chosen to go and head the police service today. What things would you want them changed so that they can operate within the law? Because that is
Exactly.
where everybody is asking, what can we do about police today? Because even yourself, you're saying a lot of things are not happening, but they should not be happening, but they are happening. What are the things that you would, 5 things that you would say this would have to happen? And the things that you would not agree to with your boss, whoever has appointed you. Give us the synopsis of what would you do.
I think thanks for that. I think there's a need for police to adapt to change, and engage in a community approach strategies. We have seen in time and time that it's not only Kenya. We saw it even in the US. How the Black Lives Matter, started. It was started by police who they're always stuck to the traditional tactics. They are no longer working in this time. So I think for me, I think the most important thing is there is a need actually for the police service now globally to adapt, as a service to the people. The community approach strategies. There's de-escalating methods, for example. The problem with our police is they are the ones who are actually escalating the situation. They have to have a de-escalating approach. They have to intervene. They have to negotiate with the organizers. They have to find a way to come up together with the itineraries they are going to use so that they can protect the properties. They can have the rights of others, like the owners of business, protected, and the protesters protected. So if today I was to be in the police, I think this is what I would do. I would actually the first thing I would change the strategy completely, and involve actually the community policing stakeholders, because these people are coming from community. So you have to manage these people before you plan together. Find a way where you are planning together actually the protests. You are not denying them. You're like, okay, we are planning. So you have your members of the service in those meetings to plan. Okay, where are you guys going to go? You are independent from the executive and everyone else. So they have a right. They are protected, and then this will de-escalate because they know that you are there to protect them. But the police has always escalate the situations. And one thing I would do also is they need to be a continuous training and equipped. Our police are not well trained on crowd control. I have never seen, in fact, I have never seen the Kenyan police actually doing the crowd control movements and techniques. Crowd control, you actually are like face to face with, you're actually pushing each other with the crowd. Like in parliament, I would have expected the police, it's like a tug of war. You have seen it in they're actually pushing each other, like close, they have their own line and they are pushing, not shooting them, so we have I can say in France we are the experts of protests. This is like ODM times 100. In France, like, these are experts. They can protest every day for 365 days. People are used to protest in France. But like last time we had Gilets jaunes, which is a yellow vests. It was also triggered by taxes. And my goodness, they actually striked for the entire almost several months towards COVID. Actually, yellow vests actually it's COVID. It wasn't the government that ended yellow vests, it was COVID. So it was the same thing, but there were 0 lives lost. And it was every day.
That's what we are looking for.
Yeah.
So
And there were
I
a
like that.
of damage. There were a lot of damage. But people are more conscious with lives. I also want to use the example of Capitol Hill. There were 2,500 who actually went inside, more than what we saw. And right now, there was 0 lives lost, but of course they were arrested. They managed to arrest 890 after. So, as the president said, there are CCTVs, and all these pictures, they are taking photos of themselves when they are there. So you wait, and then you can use all their social media, and all this to arrest them, and CCTVs. That is how it's supposed to be without shooting them. Yeah. And I also want to say, on the police side, they're exposed to life-threatening risks as well. Like I don't want to use this one. I want to use the Azimio protests. I can statistics that I had: 305 police officers were injured. Yeah, 158 police vehicles, they were burned and destroyed. 9 police stations were destroyed. So actually, they are exposed to life-threatening risks while being demanded to protect lives and properties. These guys are not equipped. They're underpaid. They are no rotational. Normally, you are supposed to rotate them, because if someone is staying from morning to evening in the same post without rotation, without food, this guy will be fatigued and he will shoot you at the end of it. because he's also human. So those are some of the things that actually put them in danger and endanger others when they are fatigued and they are stressed and there is no rotation. Normally, you are supposed to rotate them after every 2 hours. As in France and other developed countries, we rotate each other after. You cannot stay in the same post. After 2 hours, you are not. You can be there, but we count you as don't have the capacity to do the job 100%. So you see, but you find them doing it from morning to midnight. So with that stress, it can be a risk to themselves and to.
So you would deal with that as well. You would make sure that.
Yes, they need to be rotated.
And also, you've said also to increase staff morale in terms of how they are paid, their welfare is looked into so that they can become more effective.
Yes, and I want to mention something about the protest nowadays. It has changed. One thing the police they haven't mastered. That's why Gen Z, and even in France, the Gen Z in France last year, they gave the police a rough time. In fact, in France, it was even worse than Kenya, by the way, the Gen Z. Last year we had a very serious problem. So what they do, they mobilize themselves through social media. So they can say, okay, we are meeting in KICC. So the police would be in KICC, but these guys will constantly change because they communicate on social media. They say, okay, guys, we're changing our position. We are moving to, because the police all of them are in KICC. We are going to the park, to Uru Park or something. So by the time they are there, the police are not there. So I saw today in Nairobi, they actually appeared from nowhere. Many of them appeared from nowhere. So this is their time. So the police are trying to catch up with them because they are silently mobilize themselves online, and all of a sudden they are there. So this is something that the police are facing at the moment, and I'm sure they will find a solution to that.
Finally, and before I give Nelson to give his final remarks and Francisco, do you think Gen Z's movement could be a blessing in disguise, maybe to make institutions that have been run down to become more effective in the way they are run? Because I see the government, especially the president, has said that there are quite a number of things he's going to look into. Do you think Gen Z's movement is something that Kenyans should be proud of?
Definitely, this is a revolution, my friend. Even the president acknowledges this is a revolution. This one, we feel it even here. So this is a revolution. As I was telling some people, as millennials, we failed or we lost footing in 2007 because of the tribal card. We were also a force that we could have made some difference. But in 2007, we lost footing because of the tribal. We were reminded of who we were, and we lost it there. This time, this generation is tribeless because even if you try to make them into their own tribes, they don't have a tribe because these guys, they only have the name. They might not be even speaking that language,
So are you trying to say that the president will not be able to meet any of the officials? You remember we have a Gen Z representative here. Maybe he should tell us whether he is going to meet the president soon. Nelson, are you there? You've been invited. Don't you want to go and get this money, man? Tell us, what do you think?
I'm not interested to go and meet the president because it's very easy to be compromised, and the systems that he is trying to set up, we have seen very many. We have seen reports from such tribunals or committees, the latest one being NADCO, and there is nothing that has come out of it. So this is not something that we are very keen on as Gen Zs and millennials. We want to see action. We don't want to go and sit down in a boardroom and get per diems and generate a report that will go onto a shelf and add to the other reports that have been there from other committees and other findings. So yeah, I do not want to be the one to go and represent our youth. And our demands are actually public, and they are known. There are things that can be actioned without any convening of any parties. So there is no need. Let them just do their job. We're just asking them to do their job.
But it seems like you are changing your goals every day. The other day you say reject the bill, the motion on the finance bill, and the next day you say Ruto must go. So maybe
Reject,
tomorrow you might say Ruto must die. Probably.
reject
What's
finance
happening?
bill.
How are you going to organize yourself? Because you are
Reject
giving us,
finance bill
you're
was just
changing goalposts. Why?
no. This was just the straw that broke the camel's back. If you know, this is something that we used as a way of expressing our dissatisfaction with this government. And so many things are not working. And we were just saying that finance bill is just one of them. And this was one monster that, we managed to tame. But after this, we started to tell the leaders and the president that you are busy telling us that we need to take on austerity measures. We need to live within our means. He loves saying that. But when you look at his cabinet, when you look at the MPs, when you look at people like Osoro, so arrogant, vomiting at Kenyans, his presidential advisor, economic advisor, David Ndii, abusing us on Twitter. You look at people like
Calling you wangas.
yeah, calling us online wankers that we cannot do anything. Actually, he's one of the people who made people to go to the streets because he said there's nothing that
You can do.
it's only to come and shout online. And other people who have been on the president's side and so arrogant, abusing Kenyans, showing them the middle finger and flashing, expensive designer brands like shoes, like belts and watches, and at the same moment when Kenyans are struggling, and when they're telling Kenyans that we need to live within our means. But when we look at them, their lives are not, living within the means that they're preaching to us. You cannot preach to us water and drink wine. It will not work. So these are the grievances that most people have, and this is what has angered Kenyans. And that's why when the finance bill passed, we still had, these issues lingering. And during the protests, we saw it get even worse because the MPs were saying that they only report to the president. Some MPs said that they will vote yes because they don't care about the voters. So all these things made it, even more dire that people continue protesting even after the finance bill has been rejected by the president. So this is why we are not changing goalposts. It's an organic movement that is evolving with time. It's same, like in any revolution.
So what I don't understand is, and Weldon should help us with this, is if there's no leader, who makes the decision? What if you give instructions which are conflicting with another person's instruction? And you will find that you might one time start fighting among yourselves.
That's the beauty of it, because the reason why we are at this point is because the president has no one to oversight, to check his power. There is no system of constraint. That's why we are here today. Parliament is dead. Cabinet secretaries seem to have no clue on what to do. When you have people, if you go to Twitter and see some people do crowdfunding, and we are funding and trying to help the people who are in hospitals, people who had been shot by the police. The people on Twitter they don't all like each other. There's so many. But because we don't like each other, it's very easy for us to put the system of constraints to other people. And the person who is dealing with the money cannot steal the money because we don't agree with that person, all of us. So if you steal the money, someone will call you out. But
Thank you.
in a system where you have everyone on your side, then you can do what you want. Sometimes it's better to have people with conflicting opinions so that your power is limited. You cannot just do what you want. And that is the power of this movement, being leaderless.
Well done. What can you say?
I think based on the history that we have witnessed before, the revolution, especially the Arab uprising, most of them they didn't have leaders. You see, in Sudan, their main objective was to remove the president. They removed the president, and then what happened after that? You know, the military took over. And where is Sudan today? In all these things, revolutions, even the yellow vests. Yeah, I like using the example of this because it's the same thing, and it was triggered by taxes in France. The government had, Macron had a huge problem negotiating with them because they didn't have any leader. So every time they tried, some people tried to identify themselves as leaders. They are like, no, 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 they're not representing us. So it went for almost a year. Kama sio COVID, and you know they had made like, you know, these tolls, you know, on the highways. They were these guys, they were camping on those, so it was free for everyone. So they were controlling the entire, almost they were running the country, you know. So there's danger in having a leaderless revolution because it's difficult to negotiate with them. I'm also seeing like Ruto must go. So if he's gone, what happens? Because otherwise you will have people like me coming to benefit from your, you know, the military guys and the contractors coming for
Well,
business.
blessing in disguise, isn't it?
I mean, you should never wish to have this, because then
Why?
you have lost everything, because then
What?
you don't have freedom to protest
No,
anymore.
it's for transitional reasons. Let me tell
Yeah.
you, it's better we don't have freedom and then we know there is future than where we are at the moment. Let me tell you, whatever is happening in Kenya now, even if the president was to stay in power, I don't think he will ever have peace with the kind of people we have. You know, everybody now is enlightened. They can easily, like now I can see church is a no-go zone. I hear that even your own home, now they are being visited and being greeted. The parliament is literally broken because they don't know where to vote because they don't want to be greeted. So I think if I was an advisor to the president today, I would say, look, resign, call for an election, and ask people to vote you in with your new manifesto. Tell people why you are the right person, among other people, because definitely there must be another election, even if the military was to take over. But I do think it's the end of the road for Kenya, the way I see it. I don't
The way I
see
see
any.
the way I see the way I see it myself, I
To
see this as an opportunity for president
to
to
do what?
to fix, because you know, when he came to power,
Where's the
uh,
trust?
when he came to power, you have to understand, like for example, the cabinet, it's very difficult for him, according to my own understanding. The cabinet is very difficult for him to fire. You have like someone like Mutua, he came on contract base, they have an agreement, MOU. Pati yake iko na CS moja ni yeye. Moses Kuria alikuja na pati ako na CS. AG, Attorney General. Yeah, everyone there. They came with a specific. They had MOU for each and everyone. Musalia Mudavadi, maybe him and three other cabinet secretaries from his party. You know, so now the president will have an opportunity to actually say, "Hey, guys, you see the people, what's happening?" So he's going to fire some people. He's going to change, as he said. Maybe his cabinet would have done better. Yeah. So I think for me, it's an indication that he's going to use this opportunity to fire some people, to remove all those offices from. He said normally we are supposed to be having the budget salaries less than 35%, and we are over 40. I don't know. Was it 46%? So now he'll start with himself to reduce salary, remove the. I think Gen Zs are this was the best for me. Actually, these guys, they need to be celebrated because we needed to see this fast. Yeah,
Thank
cut
you.
down the wastage. You know, easy my first lady, second lady, first ladies in counties. They have budgets. The members of parliament, they're earning almost 1 million, and then they have sitting allowance to go to work.
Exactly.
Where you are, yeah,
Means
it's crazy.
clearly,
Hmm?
do you think we had these promises from the current president, but he still did not do it? Why do you think he will do it now when he did not do it? Because of pressure.
Bwana Musau, and well done, and Nelson. I think I've been a bit quiet listening, and it's
Okay.
fair to say that we have a problem that seems not to nobody seems to know where it came from. But I've got a different opinion on why are we having what we're having from Gen Z, and I have reason to think that we could have overlooked the things that we should be really looking at, and find out the cause of why we're having this kind of agitation in the country. And I would ask you, the two of you, the three of you, is this a revolt? Is there a revolution? Is there a rebellion? What is this? And what is triggering this kind of anger into people? And to me, personally, when I look at everything that is happening in the political world, in the political arena, I think what is happening right now is based upon the foundation of a person who is a professional liar. And I tend to think that whatever is happening right now, and this is why we are asking ourselves, and we asked this question the other week on Sunday, where are we going after we've gotten where we are? Because the last couple of days have been quiet. Now they don't kind of know what to do next. And even if they know what to do next and take over or assuming they went to the State House and take over the State House that they did with the Parliament, so what next? So you see, there is not. It's an uprising to me and to my views. And the reason it's happening because the person that was elected by these youth, because a lot of them voted, they voted for a hustler, the narrative of a hustler, a person that related to them through lies. And the rebellion is based upon the fake and the lies and the promises that this guy promised that were so unrealistic. And so I would ask, if there was going to be a revolution today, a proper revolution, yes? Is it supposed to eat its children? Because a lot of time revolution is its children. And if it's going to eat them children, is it them Generation Z? And if at all it did happen today and we had a change of government, the government was taken over and all that thing and all this kind of thing, because I know we were not going to get there anyway. I know it and I can feel it. But let me ask you, is this revolution a culture evolution where people are realizing that there's no one coming to save them as they promised? They have realized nobody. This guy that saved is coming to save us. He's not coming at all. So what do we do? Shall we wake up and just, do this rebel and all these kind of things? So we have a question to ask. Where are we? Where is Gen Z? Where, are they a revolt, a revolution, or an uprising? What are they? Thank you, sir.
That's a very good question, and I want to make a request for you guys, because we had another show. We have another show on Sunday, and it's about Gen Z, and I've got two actually volunteers who are going to appear here. We can have the two of them and one person who is who is specialized in history or politics, who can probably also come along. And then we now dissect this because now we have, I think we are diverting from our core topic of today. But it is because obviously police failed us during the protest marches. And that is why we asked what would have been done better, especially by the police. So we diverted to the Gen Z's stuff because of the police involvement in the whole protest. So I am going to say, let's hold our horses until next Sunday when we shall talk specifically about the revolution led by Gen Z, and we shall have them, some of them who have played parts in organizing some of the protests, and there are some of them who are keyboard warriors, social media mobilizers, and they can tell us some of these questions because none of us except Nelson, who can give us answers, he has said why he is part of it. But let's hear more people coming in and telling us what is going to happen according to the question by Francisco. Otherwise, I really want to thank you guys for turning up for this today's very technical and quite hard to tackle question, given that none of the people in the Kenyan police force is here to tell us why, to give us answers to what is being asked. But we are hoping in the future we are going to get some of these key government officers and the politicians coming to talk to us. At the moment, unfortunately, nobody wants to appear on TV because they don't want to be greeted by saying the wrong thing. But it's good for us also to be given a platform to talk as common people because we are used to them talking. Right now, it seems the government has already been has been toppled because even in church, only the priests are preaching. In the barrios, only the MCs and the family are given opportunities. Everybody is hiding. I hear, what's this place called? Wilson Airport. MPs are taking their private jets to Jomo Kenyatta because they can't travel to the airport because they are fearing to be greeted. And I hear a lot of people actually, these people have now left the country. This is how bad it is. And I want to say that this is a conversation that even if we have a completely different topic, it will come up because we are socio-political platform where everything is connected to another. Asanteni sana. And maybe before I finish up, let's hear the final words from Weldon, Francisco, and Nelson, and then we call it a day. Nelson, let's start with Nelson. Do you have any parting punches?
Well, I don't have any parting shot, but I just want to appreciate the people who joined us and the people who asked questions in the comments. There are so many, we did not read all of them, but we acknowledge them, and I think we answered most of them. Yeah, so thank you and see you next time.
Thank you, Nelson. Francisco?
Bwana Masao, well done. And Nelson, thank you very much for tonight's discussion. And I think we are going the right way. And I think every day, as we're having every discussion every Sunday, it's giving birth to something else. And I think this is something that needs to show us that there's a lot that needs to be investigated and researched. And I think I'll be very interested, after all this Gen Z thing is over, I think this is a subject that needs to be investigated and researched. so that we can be able to mitigate future issues that could arise the way they have in such an unprecedented time, and that we can be able to learn one or two things, and be able to be more prepared in the future, so that if we are electing leaders, we need to know that the kind of things and debates and talks that we need to inform and educate people about, because all this to me looks like the cause of it is lack of education in terms of politics, governance, and leadership, and the society knowledge for the same. So thank you very much for tonight, and I appreciate it. I'm so glad. I'm so fortunate to have been, part of this. And thank you again. Have a good night.
Thank you, Francisco. Now we come to Weldon. Any parting shots from Weldon, our expert in security?
Yes, I can only say trained, equipped, and empowered National Police Service officers, incorporated with a community approach methods, is a proper way to maybe mitigate risks of losing lives, like the way we have witnessed, of protesters, and destruction of properties. So this is my parting shot, and I think next time you need to bring us back, and you can give me the responsibility of looking for someone from the National Police Service, so that they can join us here and give us the official communications from their side, and maybe someone from Kenya National Human Rights or LSK. It's good to have both of them, so that they can actually reach the diaspora, because we need to know the truth from the diaspora, because we understand things differently, because we are in countries that you have protests like that with 0 lives lost. So we demand to have these answers from their perspective. So thank you very much, and back to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Well done for those remarks, and everyone else. Yes, we appreciate that you are willing to get us more guests who have inside information about some of the issues that need to be looked into, and definitely we shall look for some time in future to bring this topic again, and then we get our answers. Please don't go away when the cameras are switched off by Kiprop. We need to have a review just for 2 minutes. Kiprop, please.